Hey there, welcome to another episode of Business Breakthroughs. I'm Neal DiPentino, president of Tide MediaWorks, and your host on today's show, where we're going to break through the BS, get real-world advice and direction from those who are and have been deep down in the trenches. Today, we're joined by a special guest whose business coaching firm is on a mission to empower 200 companies to reach their fullest potential by 2030. Please welcome to the show from Pull the Chute, Jeff Sesol. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Neal. Appreciate you having me on the show. I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Hey, we are a couple of Nashvillians here. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
always
in
fun.
Nashville and the wonderful weather. I'm in the snow in
Yeah,
Denver right now, but yeah, hey, the power of the internet, right?
it is. It is. It's a gorgeous. You're missing a gorgeous day here. It's supposed to be 80 here today, so it's just
Oh,
amazing.
wow. Yeah, it's the way it always goes. We
Yeah,
have this
right.
beautiful, I think they call it a Magnolia Susan in our backyard,
Hmm.
and it blooms about this time every year. And about this time every year, I'm on the road. I've never seen it bloom. I've only seen pictures of it. It's in my own backyard.
Oh, that stinks. That
It
stinks.
does. It does. So Jeff, you have a wonderful business in the Nashville area. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Actually, you go beyond the Nashville area, but
I do.
we're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a bit. But before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, please.
Sure, no problem. So originally from Chicago, was there for till I was like 54, I guess, and then I got done with the weather and I got done with the taxes, and decided to go south where it was warmer and cheaper to live. But up in Chicago, I have three daughters, all married, seven grandkids, so love that part of it.
Wow.
Started my career at Harris Bank in Chicago back in the 1980s. Worked there in the trust fee department and got into programming, self-taught programmer actually, automated the trust fee department, but got bit by the entrepreneurial bug and left there in 1992 and have been entrepreneurial ever since. I've had several of my own businesses. Probably the one that I'm most proud of was one that we called Free Drive, Free Drive. And that there was a result of a previous business that we found this little piece of a platform that everyone was using. And it was the ability to upload a file from their PCs to our servers and get to it from any web browser. And so we launched that in 1998. And it's what we know today as web-based storage. And so one of my small claims to fame is I get to say that I'm one of the founding fathers of web-based storage because no one was doing it in 1998.
Nice.
It took us 18 months to get our first million users worldwide, but the hockey stick curve had started. It only took 13 weeks to get the next million, and then 11 weeks to get the next million, and 10 weeks to get the next million. It was insane. It's just an insane time because we were doing things that no one else was doing, and so we had to figure things out. Just from a crazy standpoint of, how do you load balance servers and how do you get people to get their files and get them to download them faster? And of course, this was before broadband, right? This was dial-up with a lot of the stuff. So it was an interesting time. We sold the majority share off to a company called Motorola, which everyone may recognize, and then EDS, which is a server company in Plano, Texas, and EMC, which is a storage company in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. In 2001, we had 18 million users. And my life became a blast because I got to be the technology evangelist at that point because I was the CTO of FreeDrive. And so for 2 years, I got to travel the United States looking for technologies that would fit into FreeDrive and speak in front of 5,000 people about why FreeDrive had been so successful. By the time I left in 2003, we had 28 million users worldwide. It was crazy.
Wow.
Such an incredible time.
Yeah.
But then I got to have fun. I kind of looked in the mirror and said, okay, now what? And I said, look, I just really love helping companies automate their operations. And so that's what I started doing. And then from there, I kind of morphed into just helping companies grow. And so, through different aspects of operations, but just teaching, business owners that, the way they're going to make their company grow is to make their people grow. And so, I've had several different effects on that and consulting through that. But I tell the story, I say, it's interesting because I came up with the name Pull the Chute from an event I did when I turned 40. I decided to go skydiving. It was a bucket list event. And if you've never gone skydiving, basically you go 14,000 feet up in a plane, you tumble out, you're falling at 120 miles an hour, and it's hard to breathe. One little movement of your hands and you start to spin. Everything's happening so fast you can't see where you're at and you can't see where you're going. But at 5,500 feet, you pull the chute. And
Wow.
suddenly you can breathe again, you're in control, you can see where you're at, and you can see where you want to go. And so when I turned 60 and looked in the mirror one more time and I said, okay, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? I said, look, I love working and I love helping companies, and I'm not retiring anytime soon. So, what do I want to do? And I thought, helping companies and consulting is a one-to-one proposition, but by coaching, it's one-to-many. And I can really help as many companies as possible grow and be the best they can be. And so I launched Pull the Chute as a way to do that, as a way to get companies to quote unquote pull the chute, at least for an hour a week when I talk to them, but hopefully for more, because we kind of talk about things they need to do so they can work on their company instead of always working in their company.
Right,
And
right.
and that just makes a big difference. We all get into that grind of just being part of the hamster wheel, of just always being in the company. And it really makes a difference when you can actually be working on your company.
A
So
lot of the
anyway,
people that we talk to actually on this show have very similar stories to what you're telling right now. And that's why we want you on our show, because there's so many grandiose claims out there. And we talk about that all the time with people. And so if you're a business owner and you're looking for advice, you're looking for help, you're looking for solutions to whatever problems that you might have, if you look on the internet, you're going to find answers. But most of the time, you're not going to find the right answers, because a lot of these things are coming from people that have no experience. But with experience like yours, I mean, to me, that's incredible. And I love your story about the parachute thing. I
yeah.
had a chance to go skydiving once, but they told me I couldn't go because I have a bad back, like this
Oh,
big yellow stripe going right down the middle of it. So
oh, wow.
we kind of decided that was not a really good thing. So now,
Yeah.
so I was looking over your information and everything, your bio and stuff that you submitted to us. And one of the things that you talk about, which I think is really a lofty idea, is empowering 200 companies to reach their fullest potential by 2030.
Hmm.
So, in your experience, I mean, what kind of common obstacles do companies come across that, prevent them from being able to meet these challenges? And what are you doing to help them overcome?
Sure.
Mhm.
The
Okay.
biggest thing that we find is, especially for the 5 to 50 employee type companies, is that the owner, the founder, the CEO, whatever title they take at that point, thinks they have all the answers. When I grew up at Harris Bank, it was if you wanted to be a leader, you had to be an expert. And the problem was, once you became the expert, then you couldn't be a good leader, because you were giving all the answers instead of empowering people to help you with some of those answers. And so what happens with a lot of founders is they can't get out of their own way. They're afraid to give up control. They're afraid to give other people responsibility, because they think they know the best way to do it. And what I try to teach them is, look, take the blinders off and realize that, if you grow your people, you're going to grow your company, which is our tagline, right? And what that means is, teaching them how to do the job, and letting them do it the way that they want to do it, as long as the result is something that you're looking for.
Hmm.
Just because you do it a certain way doesn't mean everyone has to do it that way. And if you are open to that, you're going to find that your people are going to offer you a ton more suggestions of how to do the job. And what I like to teach them to do is say, ask your people what they need to do their job better. And as long as it's within reason, give it to them, because now
Hmm.
they own that job, and they're going
Right,
to do it. They're going to do it better than anybody else, because you asked
right.
them and you gave it to them, and now they feel totally responsible for that. And what that did is it empowered them to be the best they could be. When I worked at Harris Bank, I had a boss. Back in the '80s, this was unheard of. She was my mentor, which is why I do some of the things I do. But she empowered me to learn how to program so that I could automate some of the processes in that department. Now, in the '80s, you went to work, you showed up, you put your head down, you did your job, you went home and you collected a paycheck. And they didn't want to hear anything else, because they knew
Right.
best,
Yep.
right? She bucked that whole trend. And we ended up being, kind of the loving stars of that area, because we automated all these processes, and they allowed us to do that eventually.
Hmm.
And that's what I want to empower other people to do. We don't do that as much as we should. I just heard a very interesting stat today. I had coffee with a friend, and he said that 69% of companies interviewed, and this is like a Forbes magazine thing, realize that they need help in their leadership of their company, because there's not quality leadership. And that's what's really going to drive the success of the companies.
Right, right. Well, there's an old saying that says, so if you're going to be successful in business, you have to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And a lot of times we do that, but then we kind of shut them off,
Right.
and we don't have that conversation. We don't listen to them anymore. So how do you, when you're working with a client, how do you, get them to understand and that philosophy of it's their company too. I think that's what you say in your bio.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you get them to actually, invest in that and to use that philosophy and that methodology?
Well, it's a process. I'm going to say that first of all, right? This is not a one and done type of thing. Most of my clients have been with me for more than a year. But where we start is we say, okay, are you ready? Are you committed? Are you coachable? And are you accountable? If you can answer yes to those four things, then we're going to be successful. And so what we do is each week we talk through where they want to go and how we're going to get them there. And we talk through setting up times. Like one of my clients right now has a new admin in the office, and he kind of threw her in there without giving her training. And so I've been able to reel him back and say, look, you want her to answer the phones a certain way that's going to result in clients, then you need to teach her what you want to do. Now, here's the interesting part. I finally convinced him to do that after a month. And you know what he said to me yesterday? I talked to him yesterday. He goes, I realized that I'm also learning the better way to talk through this stuff, because I just assumed that I would do it a certain way. But when I'm teaching her, it actually is teaching me as well.
Right.
Which
right.
was, I get a little smile on my face because I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
That's what we need to do. So it does take some convincing sometimes to get them to understand that. And a lot of times I say to them, look, you brought me in to be your coach. I just need you to trust that I'm helping to steer you down the right path. I got 30 plus years of experience of doing this. Have I been successful in all my businesses? No. I've had some really good ones, but you know what? I learned so much from the ones that weren't successful.
Right.
And I probably learned more from those than the ones that were successful.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
I'm able to apply that. And because I've been doing this for so long, I can give them story after story after story, so that it's not just me telling them or suggesting to them. I'm saying, let me tell you what happened when, right? We tried to do this, and this is what the result was before, right? And so then they have something to go on. So yeah, it's all, and a lot of times it is about the stories. We've talked about that, and telling stories is a key thing that really gets people to understand, because we all connect to stories.
I like it. I'm the same way. I've been in business for over 40 years, and I've had a pretty incredible, at least in my mind, a pretty incredible career and everything. But so I like to share what I've learned. And I don't call it really knowledge, more wisdom. Because failure is how you learn in a lot of cases. But I like to share that with people, especially younger people that we have in our office and people that I met. But what's really interesting is that a lot of the people that we hire are 20 somethings, people who are a lot younger than us, and they bring a lot to the table as well if we'll just listen to them. A good example of that would be digital or communications that we use in today's world. I mean, they grew up in that world. We didn't. We have to learn. We're behind the curve already. So if we listen and open our minds, we can learn a heck of a lot, and we can really be a lot more successful by listening to those people.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting too, because we're in a very unique time that's never happened before, and that is the fact that we have 4 generations in the workforce. So we have baby boomers that are still in there. We have Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zers, right? And they all communicate differently, and they all have different understandings of what it means to work hard and to go the extra mile. And so, the Gen Zers, I feel like I'm always teaching them, you don't just get handed things. That was the problem with them, right? Because they started this whole everyone got a trophy thing, right? Well, just because you show up to work doesn't mean you get a raise. It means you got to do your job and go above and beyond. And so, part of it is teaching them to do that, but teaching the owner to understand that about their employees.
Yeah.
And that's the learning part, right? It's like, look, you got to talk to them differently. You got to show them differently. You got to kind of encourage them differently, because they were brought up in a different world, in a different society.
That's right.
So it's interesting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you emphasize the importance of operational infrastructure. Can you maybe give us an example of what that looks like?
Sure. I mean, operational infrastructure, and here's the best way I can describe it. When I coach with people, I talk about having 4 levels, right? And so the first one is a tandem, where I'm going to use Pull the Chute as the, going skydiving. So you do a tandem jump, or you do a tandem when we're coaching, we do a tandem, right? So we're side by side with you. We're kind of connected at the hip. We're doing a lot of things together. And I need you, again, to be those 4 things, right? To be ready, to be committed, to be coachable, and to be accountable, so that we can start to get you thinking about changing the way that you go about things and trying to build this foundation for the next set, which is momentum. So we got tandem as the first level. Now we take you to momentum. What's happening is things are starting to change. Things are starting to grow a little bit. But if you're not set operationally, then it's going to be a tough road when you hit the acceleration level. Because acceleration is kind of where things are really taking off. We've done all the right things. But if we go back to the momentum level from an operational standpoint, we need to spend time saying, okay, how are you looking? How are you doing your marketing? What is your marketing plan? What are your systems and your processes? How do they look? How are you going about your sales? What is that all involved with? And how are you closing on sales, right? This is all that operational stuff. And then we literally look at your financials with you as well and saying, look, are you making money? I had one client for a while that was making a 20% profit, which didn't even make enough to pay him,
Right.
let alone trying to bring people on, right? It's like, no, we got to change that, right? Yep. And so these are all the operational things. And then finally, it's people. So if we set everything up, what you want to do is set yourself up so as you start to grow, as you hit that accelerate level, that you can bring new people in. Like when I bring new coaches on, we just brought 2 people on in January. I got a 3rd coming on in April and a 4th probably in May. Well, we've set up all the processes and procedures. When a new coach comes on, they go through several weeks of training so they understand how to do it the Pull the Chute way. Because I think we're very specific about what we do, and that's what makes us unique and different as well. Our goal is no one's the same. We're not a cookie cutter kind of business, right? Everyone has different issues, different problems that we have to work with and kind of figure out. We put them through a 10-page, onboarding document that in some cases people are like, are you kidding me? I got to fill this out. And I'm like, if you want the best results, yes, I need you to spend time filling that out, because now we're going to spend the first month going over that, so that we can help you understand where your weaknesses are and where your challenges are, and how we can then put a plan together that's going to address A, those challenges, but B, set you up for success. Because trust me, when we hit the momentum level, if we're not set up for success, when we hit accelerate, it's going to crumble underneath you. It's that whole thing about, from the Bible about, you built on the rock or you built on the sand, right?
Right.
We want to be solid. And ultimately, we want to get them to what I call the pilot level, which is the 4th level, which is where they kind of understand what they've built, how they've built it, gone through the accelerate part, and they're on, they're just flying the plane now, or, steering the parachute as a pilot, right? And we check in with them periodically, see how they're doing, but we're always there for them, to bounce new, because things change all the time. We talk about the fact that, someone says, some things change and some things never change. Well, in the world of new business and leadership, give it an hour and it changes.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things that you got to be more aware of. So we got to be able to do that kind of stuff. But I think from an operational standpoint, I think that's the key, is that we help you kind of set up your processes. And the goal is when you bring new people on, you want everyone to think the same, to speak the same, and to understand all the things the same. And so setting up the training properly, setting up the documentation properly, so that when the new person comes on, everyone's the same, is going to make your life so much easier.
Oh, it makes so much sense. And we kind of talk about that in our own organization. It's like, nothing's forever. People are going to move on. And if we're not prepared for that in advance, then we're going to be in trouble when that time comes around. So I totally agree with everything you said there. So, excuse me, with the clients that you're working with right now, are you usually working at the leadership level, mid-management, with groups? How does that all work?
I'm across the board. We have 9 clients from Atlanta to Nashville to LA, and they're all at different stages. And so, I have a few that are in that not quite startup mode. They've been in business for a year or 2, but they realize they're trying to get to that next level, and they need help there. To be honest, between you and me, those are the fun ones. I love working with the smaller guys. They have maybe 3 to 10 employees, so it's easy to mold them and change them and offer suggestions. And again, what I always tell them is, look, I'm just your coach. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you advice. You can take it and use it however you want. I used to tell my dad that all the time. My first business, believe it or not, when I worked at Harris Bank, was a weekend warrior company that I painted houses, right? And it was because my wife, we started having kids. We wanted her to stay home and raise the kids instead of putting them in daycare. And to supplement that income, I was painting houses on the weekends, right? And I struggled a little bit with finding the right people to help me that were, that I could count on. And my dad came to me and he said, hey, look, let me come and help you. And I looked at him, I go, here's the deal. Here's how it's going to work. You can say whatever you want, but if I don't take your advice, you can't get mad at me, because this is my business, and I appreciate what you say, but I want to do it my way as well. And he did really good with that, right? And so I kind of use that with my clients as well. It's like, I'm offering you advice. If you don't want to use it, that's great. You hired me to help you, but I want you to be your own person, right? So I'm not trying to change you into somebody you're not. What I'm trying to do is give you different ways to do it. And, I can say, here's how I would do it. Like I get people all the time that send me an email and go, hey, how do you think this sounds? And
Yeah.
so I'll correct some things and then I'll say to them, but put it in your voice, right? Please don't take this. I'm just giving you the thoughts, but put it in your voice. And I think that's important because I'm trying to help people develop and grow to be who they're supposed to be, not who I want them to be. And and that's an important key factor that I think, that's why I said we're different, right? You go to these other coaching firms that are very structured and, they plug you into a system and they go through week by week and this is all they teach you. They're trying to make you become what they want you to be. And we're completely different. We're trying to make you to be who you should be.
It's amazing because I'm a big football fan, and and
I am too.
Successful football teams always seem to be those teams where the coach actually, gets the player to that he builds his program around the player. So if they've got like somebody like I'm not going to name names, but a really hot quarterback and everything, he has a certain style. They try to build that team around that. But there's those coaches that say, no, this is my system, and we're going to fit you into my system, and they seem to always fail. So it's kind of a very similar type thing.
It is. It's very similar. I mean, we could talk about. I'll throw a team out there, the Baltimore Ravens, right? They built their whole offense around their quarterback.
Right.
Right. He's a scrambler and all this stuff, and they've been successful. I mean, look at last year; they had a great season. Obviously, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is another one. Kansas City. I mean, they totally built that team around him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it proves it. Andy Reid's a really great coach for that.
100%. So, so you've been working with a lot of clients, and in your system, you've got your method, and I really love what you're talking about. Can you maybe give some examples of maybe a couple clients that you've been working with and how your system has worked for them?
Well, most of my clients, this is what I love. Within the first year, grow 3 to 5x, and so I think that's a good way to prove that the system works, right? And the second part of that is that we get them to a place that when they start to hire people, that they're understanding what they need to do to make that not only that person successful, but why that's going to make their business more successful. And that's kind of the two aspects of what we try to do. A lot of times people will hire people. And one of the things we do, I mean, I got one client that has, they have like 12 employees, right? And so we kind of help them make sure that not only do they have the right people on the bus, but that they have the right people in the right seat on the bus, as I like to say, right? And sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's, you do some analysis and you go, you know what? This person, I just get a sense might be better over here. And so I coach them to have a conversation with that person. And that's one of the things that most of our clients don't do well, is they don't have conversations with their employees to say, hey, how do you like what you're doing? Is there some other position that might feel better for you? Because they're like, no, I got him in that position. I want to keep him there. It's like, yeah, but you might get twice the effort and twice the results if you move them over to seat B and move them out of seat A.
Right.
And so, we coach them on some of that stuff. So I think that, in that case, it works well. And I think the other thing that proves the methodology works is that, again, most of my clients have been with me for anywhere from, I think the shortest right now is like 9 months, but I got 2.5 years now, since I started, right? And that, to me, that's proof that we're working because they're not going anywhere, and they enjoy, and at some point, like the one for 2.5 years, I almost become the cheerleader to a certain degree, right? They're reporting on all the things that they're doing. Now I encourage them to step out of the box. What I don't like people to do is get comfortable where they're at.
Right.
So I encourage them to step out of that comfort zone, and because they, as a business owner, need to know that they should also be growing.
Right.
And what does that mean? Everyone's different. And, so it's hard to identify that because everyone's a little different, but I encourage them to step out. And the cool part is that when they step out and all of a sudden they see the success, then some of the weekly calls are just about all the things that they've done and how successful that's worked.
Yeah.
Right. And I leave with a smile on my face. I'm like, okay,
Absolutely.
we're doing good. We're doing good.
Well, sure. Well, business owners are like, especially business owners. When you're at the top, you don't have anybody patting you on the back.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's really nice to get that kind of reassurance and everything because you're like on an island a lot of times. So
yeah,
cool.
And we say that all the time. We're like, we're here as a coach because we know that you're alone at the top and everyone's looking to you for answers. And there are times when you don't know what the answer is, but it's like, I need someone to talk to.
Right.
And then that's where we come in as a coach.
Very cool. Awesome. I love everything that you said. You've been like, so far, I got to tell you what, you've been a wonderful guest, and I really
Oh, thank you.
appreciate that. But unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time together. So as it happens, we get rolling, and we get into a really good conversation, and time starts running out. But we do have a little bit of time. If you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our audience with.
Sure. Well, what we're doing is trying to change the world. And I say that not lightheartedly. I think leadership is a huge piece that's missing in businesses. We went through the Great Resignation. 4 million people a month, 5 million people a month were moving jobs. Why?
Right.
Because they felt unappreciated. And that goes right back to leadership. 79% of people were leaving jobs because they felt unappreciated. Only 12% left because they wanted more money. Mm-hmm. It says volumes, right?
Right.
And so we're excited about to be able to do that. If I could share a couple of fun things that are going on with us near the end here. So we go to Las Vegas. There's a conference out there called CXO, which is C-level executives. And we won the Outstanding Leadership Award for that.
Nice. Congratulations.
We had to apply for that. Yeah. So we're very excited about that. I get to be on 2 panels while I'm out there to talk about leadership. We are becoming an international company. We have a London, England office that's opening April 2nd that we're announcing. So that's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we became international about 5 months ago. What I mean by that is people from all over the world have been reaching out to us and asking for things and talking to us. And
nice.
And that's fun. And then finally, my second book is coming out, and it's called The New Leadership Landscape, Redefining True Leadership. And I'm very excited about that. It's something that is near and dear to my heart. I've put a lot of work into it, and it's just fits right into my passion, which is we have got to, everyone talks about it, but no one's doing anything about it. Knowing that leadership needs to change. And what they aren't taking the time to do is realize that times have changed. So the way that we lead needs to change. And that's what I mean by the new leadership landscape, redefining true leadership. Because, again, leadership used to be, back when I was, starting my career, was, hey, if you want to be a leader, you got to be an expert. Well, you don't have to be an expert to be a leader. What you need to do is be able to appreciate people, to support people, to stand shoulder to shoulder with them. When things go wrong, you take the blame. When things go right, you give out the praise. Right? And you just give your people that ability to be themselves and to be the better part of themselves. And that's why, our goal by 2030 is to help 200 companies, because our goal is if they realize that it's about their people, they are going to succeed. Right. Because their people are going to drive that success. And we just got to teach people to understand that process.
100%. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. If our audience would like to get in contact with you, find out more about you, find out more about your business, how do they go about doing that?
2 ways. One, obviously go to Pull the Chute, and it's chute.net. And you can find all kinds of things out there. You can email me, jeff@pullthechute.net, or go to jeffsesol.com, and it's Jeff, SESOL.com. And where I do public speaking, I do workshops, like I said, I got the second book, all that stuff. So open to just talking to people. I love just meeting with people and just helping them through. The majority of my week is spent having coffees and lunches with people and just offering some advice and kind of going from there. So, but it's fun to be able to do that.
Fantastic. So one last thing, I have to bring this up because I also am a former Chicagoan. Okay. So, and when I have somebody from Chicago on my show, I always have to ask this question: Cubs or Sox?
Oh, diehard Cubs. I bleed Cubby blue.
All right, fantastic. We'll be glad to have you back on our show anytime you want to come back.
Sounds good, Neal. Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you for being with us. Hey, folks, thanks for being with us today. So thrilled you could be here. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Business Breakthroughs is sponsored by Titan Media Worx. We are a publishing company and a guest booking service company. And if you want to be in the podcasting space, give us a shout. We'd love to work with you. Check us out at titanmediaworx.com. That's Worx spelled WORX. And also check out all of our other great hosts on the Small Business Delivered Network at smallbusinessdelivered.com. Hey, be sure to stay tuned for more business breakthroughs coming your way. Until then, stay positive and keep on breaking through. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.